Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth.
That's right. While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, honestly, no book is off limits here.
From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs, compelling fiction, historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover.
So tune in for your next great book idea.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're enjoying what you hear, please consider taking just a moment to subscribe, rate, like, and comment on whatever platform you're listening from.
It really does help support our channel and allows us to get better and, bring you even more great content.
And if today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please think about using the link in our description to make your purchase.
Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being part of the Daily Review community.
Okay, so today's deep dive. We're looking at a truly extraordinary personal account from the Second World War in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, this one. It's intense. We're working with excerpts from a memoir, The Forgotten Highlander, by Alistair Urquhart. It details his experiences as a prisoner of war.
That's right. And our goal here is to really understand, through Alistair's own words, the brutal realities faced by Allied POWs of the Japanese, especially on the infamous Death Railway.
And also explore the lasting impact, the trauma of surviving something like that.
Exactly. So let's start at the beginning. Alistair's childhood in Aberdeen, Scotland, born 1919. His father was a quiet man.
Shaped by World War I, right? Some.
Profoundly. Survived the first day of the Somme. You mentioned 60,000 casualties that day alone.
Oh.
He cast a huge shadow.
Understandably. But his mother and aunt were more lively.
Yes, brought some energy. He describes being a really energetic kid, running, swimming, got his life-saving badge, which, as he points out, literally saved him later.
And the Boy Scouts, too. King Scout badge.
Highest award. Shows that discipline early on. He also mentions the school discipline, the cane, the lock jelly taws. Sounds pretty harsh.
Yeah, but not all tough, right? He loved dancing.
Absolutely. Dance halls were big for him. He had a girl, Hazel Watson, beautiful blonde, loved to dance too. That memory became really important later.
And work. He started young.
Yeah, right at the bottom. Plumber's merchant. Started in the warehouse, dusty work, but he showed promise. Mr. Grassy, the boss, another WWII vet, offered him a trainee spot. Learned the whole business.
A strong work ethic, definitely. But even in Aberdeen, the war was looming.
Oh yeah, signs were there. Spanish Civil War, volunteers leaving, clashes with fascists. You couldn't ignore it.
And then the letter arrived.
September 39, just after his 20th birthday. The War Office. He describes this sinking feeling.
Surprised to be called up so soon and worried about his job.
Exactly. And leaving home, that was huge.
Yeah.
Furthest he'd been was Dundee, 80 miles away.
Wow. That farewell from his father sounds intense. The silent handshake making him promise to look after himself.
Deeply affecting. Like history repeating itself.
So the journey south begins. Blacked out England. Then the Channel crossing.
Rough crossing to Cherbourg. First taste of brandy from the trawler captain.
Yeah.
A quick immersion into military life, Even notice the rivalries between the Scottish regiments.
And the voyage east, the danger felt more real.
Aden, definitely. First real sense of danger, Calcutta. He was repelled by the poverty there. Declined leave, actually.
Then Singapore, the sexy posting.
Yeah, for the colonials anyway.
Right.
Privileged life, servants, Singapore slangs, a huge contrast for the arriving soldiers. Singapore was booming rubber and tin.
But the military side felt lacking.
It did. Joining the Gordon Highlanders barracks, there was the usual ribbing, the macho stuff, but Alistair was fit, determined.
And the regiment itself, lots of pride.
Huge pride. The traditions, the black buttons on the spats, symbolizing their history. Upholding honor was everything.
Daily life was barracks routine, but also guard duties.
Right. Barracks, governor's house in Johor, that felt like a bit of a break, more relaxed. Then Blockhan Mati, guarding the coastal guns, pointing out to sea.
But he had some awkward encounters with the colonials.
Oh, yeah. Being told to get off the sidewalk, that kind of arrogance, highlighted the class divisions, even with war coming.
And the exclusive clubs.
Got invited once, felt poor, heard awful comments about the local workers. It prompted him to write home telling his cousin not to marry her fiancé after meeting him there. Stark contrast to his own background. Meanwhile, news from Europe wasn't good.
Dunkirk. The loss of the 51st Highland Division? That must have hit hard.
Definitely. And even the Battle of Britain's success meant planes weren't coming to Singapore. It felt exposed, the naked isle. Fears of being the next Dunkirk.
The jungle training didn't help either.
Felt like a farce, he says. Antiquated tactics, officers playing at soldiers, no real jungle expert, shortages too. It just felt wrong. Too much hanging about.
And the newspapers kept saying Singapore impregnable.
Which just increased his doubts. He felt war in the East would be a calamity. Then he got transferred to Fort Canning, strategic heart of the defense.
A promotion. He saw it. The battle box tunnels were there.
Yeah, built to counter Japan. But his workload was massive. Unreliable superiors, apparently. But his work ethic, he just got on with it. 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. sometimes.
Found ways to escape, though. Dancing again.
Still loved dancing. Won a competition even. Quick step double novelty dance. Won a cup and a clock.
But the tension was rising. Reinforcements arriving. Evacuations increasing.
You could feel it building.
Yeah.
Then December 8th, 1941.
The bombs started falling.
Around 10 p.m., huge explosion. First bomb hit the tennis court right outside his office. He dived under the desk, petrified. This was it. War.
And he finally understood his father's reaction to thunderstorms.
Exactly. Work became relentless then. Slept in the office. Then he was put in charge of 3 boy soldiers, bandsmen.
Young lads.
Very young. Offered civvies, evacuation. But they chose to stay, fight as Gordons. That bravery stuck with it.
Until the surrender, February 16th, seeing the Japanese soldiers for the first time.
Volatile, he said. Bayonets jabbing. He was absolutely petrified. Thinking of the Alexandra Hospital massacre, he surrendered. Just like that. Defeat.
The immediate aftermath.
Yeah.
Changi, just devastating.
Degradation, humiliation, no toilets, machine guns trained on them, thousands crammed in. Hopelessness.
More POWs flooding in just added to the misery, finding space.
Eventually moved into old barracks. He shared a tiny outhouse with the 3 boys. Sanitation was awful. Cold water, couldn't drink it. 1 bar of soap shared. No razors, no toothbrushes.
Grim. In the mood. Relief. The fighting stopped, but anger too.
Yeah, anger at being captured without really fighting. Arguments about who was to blame. And fighting depression. The black dog played cards, talked. He tried to reassure the boys.
Those talks on the hill at sunset sound important. Freddie grilling him about Hazel.
Connecting, remembering home. Then the concert. Dennis East playing Mendelssohn.
That must have been incredibly moving.
He says men wept openly. First music in months. Reminded them of civilization, of a world outside. A moment of pure humanity amidst the horror.
And small things, like an omelet, became huge moments.
Mouth-wateringly magical, he called it. Then he was asked to teach the boys. Captain Folder.
A bit of a shock, I imagine.
Initially, yeah. But then he saw it as a positive. Keep his mind busy. Created a syllabus from memory English, maths, Latin.
Did the boys appreciate it?
Hated it, apparently.
Yeah.
It kept them occupied. And amazingly, they all passed a makeshift exam, he said. Handwritten certificates. A small victory.
All while rumors about the war swirled around.
Constant confusion. Japanese propaganda about holiday camps in Burma, Thailand.
He didn't buy it.
Not for a second. Expected a massacre. But others clung to the hope desperately.
And then the transfer began. To the railway.
Marching to the station. Then herded into those tiny steel goods wagons. 35, 40 men. Claustrophobia, heat, malaria, dysentery kicking in. He felt like he was being buried alive. Utter despair.
The journey itself. Slow agony.
Just awful. Minimal light, minimal air, men collapsing, Japanese stealing watches, stopping in sidings, heat soaring, silence.
That first stop in the jungle, just water and rice.
Minuscule amounts.
Yeah.
And the realization hit no escape. Jungle was impassable, locals terrified, safer to stay put. He even mentions focusing on a mosquito biting him in the dark on the train, snapping at it, just needing something, anything to concentrate on.
Shows the state of mind, doesn't it?
Totally. Conditions just got worse. Men losing control. He felt doomed, thought about suicide, delirious. By day 5, no one could stand. Men weeping, praying. He was ready to die.
Then marching through the jungle to the camps, starting work on the Death Railway.
The Burma-Siam Railway.
Yeah.
British engineers warned years before it would cost thousands of lives. Became one of the great war crimes. Over 16,000 Allied POWs, maybe 100,000 Asian laborers died. Driven by this insane deadline.
The daily routine sounds brutal. Tenko roll call, beatings.
Beatings were constant. For mistakes, for nothing. Rifle butts, bamboo canes, wire whips, lashing backs, hitting tropical ulcers. Korean guards often seemed to enjoy it.
The dilemma he mentions, swallow pride or risk worse for defiance.
A terrible choice.
Yeah.
Showing defiance could get you killed. Punishments were horrific. The black hole subterranean cages, stifling heat. Few survived a month in those.
And Dr. Death, Sergeant Okada.
Particularly notorious. Water torture, hurling stones. Then the Indian rope trick. Tethering men with wet rattan that tightened as it dried. Cutting flesh, tearing sinew. Agonized screaming. He felt glad to be out working just to avoid hearing it.
How did he cope with all that?
Memories of home. Happy times. But physically they were declining fast.
Yeah.
Losing boots, making jungle slippers. Tropical ulcers were rampant.
He talks about nursing a dying man, Bill.
Holding his hand. A moment of connection. But then he reflects on the need for selfishness to survive, refusing to let the Japanese win. That became the driving force.
Dr. Mathewson's ulcer treatment sounds like a lifesaver.
Sulfanilamide powder and antiseptic. Alistair learned it, passed it on later. Vital knowledge. Work was relentless. 60 days straight, no rest. Then reaching Hellfire Pass. That rock face.
Dreaded. And the public decapitation after an escape attempt?
Seeing the pool of blood. Utter powerlessness, one of the worst things he witnessed.
The work itself, hammering rock, hauling baskets, sick men forced to work.
Sheer agony. Weakened by disease, starvation, fatigue. Dr. Death gloating, throwing stones. Working by firelight when quotas weren't met. Looked like hell, he says. They were just skin and bones.
And transferred. Connie II. Just used up, he realized.
Discarded. And it was there he ended up in the black hole, the bamboo cage, darkness, filth, isolation, malaria hit, ulcers, kidney stones, complete degradation.
And then cholera.
Semi-conscious, hallucinating. Dragged himself for help. Dr. Mathewson knew instantly. Took him to the death tent.
The death tag.
Stench of death. He was the 13th occupant. Saw the others. Knew he was there to die. Desolation. Mind drifting. Death seemed inviting.
But he survived. Transported to Chungkai hospital camp.
Seeing thousands of other survivors there, sick, recovering, it made him grasp the sheer industrial scale of the railway's human cost.
But even there, depression hit hard.
Yeah, the black dog again. He was difficult, moody, dreaded the ulcer scraping. Food was the only highlight.
Rehabilitation was slow. Learning to walk again.
Painful. Watching others on the bamboo parallel bars, thinking he couldn't do it, then finally trying, legs like sticks. The medical staff were incredibly patient.
And then the reunion with Freddie and Jim.
A huge moment. Seeing Freddie, still cheeky, inspirational despite everything, they talk for hours like before. Freddie brought him that gula melaka cake.
For sugar in 2 years.
Caused stomach issues, but worth it. A small kindness meaning so much.
Chungkai sounds like a world away from the railway camps.
A holiday camp in comparison, he says. Fewer guards, no systematic beatings, men walking freely, trading, shows, sports.
But the legacy of the railway was visible. The amputees.
Dozens. Gangrene from ulcers. Doctors like Captain Marco doing incredible work with basic tools, no anesthetic often. Astounding dedication. And the ingenuity in the hospital, making equipment from scrap.
Retractors, drips, masks from cans and bottles, bamboo for false legs, dentist chairs, making surgical alcohol, incredible resourcefulness.
Help came from outside too. The V's organization, smuggling drugs, alerting authorities, heroes.
Chungkai wasn't just physical healing, was it? Rebuilding minds too.
Definitely. Activities, classes, talks, trying to relearn how to socialize. Even a famous cricket writer gave a talk.
Yeah.
Helping men process the trauma.
Then another transfer. To the docks. Forced labor.
Unloading sacks, heavy work, beatings for dropping things. That powerlessness, he says, broke your spirit as much as the physical pain.
And learning about the hell ships.
Oh God, yes. Rutting hulks, moving prisoners, appalling stories, thirst driving men mad, suffocation, cannibalism, just horrific.
Then he's put on one again, the Kachidoki Maru. And torpedoed. Again.
Unbelievable. USS Growler, oil tanker hit nearby, exploded, lit up the sea, then collided with his ship. Pandemonium.
He managed to get out, into the water.
Into the freezing, oil-thick water. Felt like swimming through treacle. Gulping oil burned his throat. He swam away, trying to survive, remembering his scout training. Needed to be alone.
244 men from his ship died that night, prisoners of the deep.
He was alone, drifting, freezing, worried about sharks. Dawn came, utterly alone. Sea, sky, sun.
And the chocolates incident.
Found the tin of chocolates and cigarettes. The agony eat them, risk dying of thirst. Threw them away. Then realized he should have kept the tin for rainwater. Such a cruel moment.
How did he keep going mentally?
Used his imagination. Mental stock take of the plumber's merchant back home. Remembering details, sights, sounds, hearing songs in his head. Kept his mind busy, kept him sane.
While unknown to him, other survivors were being rescued.
Yeah. The USS Pampanito found survivors from another hell ship, the Rokuyo Maru. Oil-covered men, The Americans were horrified. That discovery helped expose the truth about the hell ships and the railway to the world.
Alistair eventually made it to land. Omuda coal mine.
Pushing coal carts. A husk of a man, he says. Forced labor continued. He notes Japan's denial for decades about using POWs as slave labor, only recently acknowledged.
More death there, too. Tommy Taylor.
Young lad. Died from lack of drugs. And Dr. Matheson's vital advice post-liberation. Be careful what you eat after starving.
That saved his life later, didn't it?
It did. Others ignored it and died. Even a batch of contaminated seafood caused chaos, but Matheson saved everyone.
Then August 9th, 1945, Nagasaki.
He was outside watering tomatoes, heard a massive clap of thunder, then this sudden gust of incredibly hot air knocked him sideways. A giant hairdryer, he called it.
No idea.
Just a freak wind.
Yeah.
They'd seen planes, speculated, but couldn't imagine this. The hot air was from Fat Man. The atomic age had begun.
Seeing the devastation later, Nagasaki Harbor.
Like the dark side of the moon. City flattened. Hard to comprehend. His initial reaction. Serves them bloody well right. No sympathy then for what the militarists had caused.
But amidst that, simple relief. A proper wash.
First time in 3.5 years. Pink American soap. Incredibly therapeutic, he says. Then weighed 82 pounds. Skin and bone.
Seeing others arrive, some dying right there, the Americans were shocked by their acceptance.
They'd seen too much. Boarding the USS Keith Gloucester, hearing the band play, felt like returning to life.
And that moment, sailing out, hearing Glenn Miller looking back at the atomic wasteland.
The defining moment of my life, he calls it. From hell to hope, amidst the dawn of a new, terrifying age.
That first night's sleep must have been incredible.
First time without fear in years. But breakfast brought tragedy.
The overeating. Despite the warnings.
Men gorged themselves. Alistair tried to pass on Matheson's warning but was ignored. Several died, killed with kindness.
Then the secrecy document incident.
At Okinawa, Army wanted silence about their experiences. He was outraged. Felt the government wanted a cover-up to appease Japan.
So he signed with his father's name.
In backhand, like in the Selarang incident defiance. Refused to be part of suppressing the truth. San Francisco was a big step. The telegram from home.
Oh well. Hope to see you soon. Enough for him to finally sleep soundly.
And meeting Miss Ash there. That was crucial.
The volunteer who took him out?
Yeah. Elderly lady. Paid for everything. Trips out. Became like a son to her. Lifelong friendship. That kindness was vital for his recovery. Sharing goodies he brought back.
The journey home continued. Across America, then the ship. Home felt strange.
Like a strange land. And on the train in Scotland, meeting Hugh, that ghostly-looking chap, totally broken, a stark reminder of the mental toll. It really got to Alistair.
Arriving in Aberdeen, November 45. The shock for his family.
They thought he was dead. None of his postcards arrived. He was back from the dead. Huge joy, but then the grief learning his friend Eric had been killed.
Readjustment sounds incredibly hard.
Immense struggle. Felt suffocated by love after years of isolation. Hated himself. How do you explain that kind of suffering? Family felt like strangers.
And the physical problems lingered. The eating issues.
Couldn't eat his old favorites. Only rice worked. His stomach was wrecked. Became his staple diet even years later. A permanent physical reminder.
Trying to socialize? Going dancing again?
Difficult.
Yeah.
Skeletal in his uniform. Miserable company. Couldn't talk about it. Stock answer. So bad I don't want to talk about it. He met Mary, though, his future partner. Her own experiences in the Blitz helped her understand. Maybe a little. He followed the war crimes trials. Not much justice for some. The main culprits hanged, but Dr. Death only got 10 years. Inexplicable, really. Frustrating.
But the reunion with Freddie and Jim must have been special.
July 46. Huge relief seeing them again. Hearing their stories cemented those bonds.
And returning to his old job, Mr. Grassy?
Poignant moment. Mr. Grassy, the WWII vet, saw him, understood the change. Alistair thinks he saw a tear.
The experiences never left him, did they?
Haunted him. Pain, nightmares, fighting sleep. But he found purpose. Owed it to those who didn't make it. Became a managing director, prioritized health and safety, a direct result of the railway.
And that led to writing the book, To Bear Witness.
Exactly. Breaking the silence. Anger at Japanese denial.
Yeah.
Demanding they accept guilt. Felt his generation, the forgotten force, the ghost army, were swept aside for Cold War politics. Not just POWs, but part of a wider Asian Holocaust. The book was his answer to denial.
But he felt some good came from it personally.
Made him more patient, caring, inspired by the medics, cared for his own family through illness, vowed to help others, a vow made with Dr. Matheson, found satisfaction in that.
So Alistair Urquhart's journey, From Aberdeen, through unimaginable horror, back to a life of purpose, driven by survival and the need to bear witness.
It's an incredible story of resilience, isn't it? Physical and mental endurance against systematic cruelty, but also highlights connection, kindness, and that long, hard road to healing.
Yeah, and his determination to write the book, to fight against the forgetting, against denial, it really makes you think.
It does. It raises that question for all of us, really. What is our responsibility today to remember these forgotten histories, especially the painful ones, the ones some societies might find inconvenient to confront?
A powerful thought to end on. Definitely something to carry with you.